Sergeant at Arms, please march on the dignitaries. Will everyone with a cell phone please turn it off or put it on vibrate? Also, during the course of the ceremony, you will be asked several times to stand. Please only do so if you are able to. So seniors who cannot stand, please remain seated. Okay, anyone else, Chuck? That's it? There you go. Everyone who's able, please stand. Sergeant at Arms, march on the colors. Please join in the singing of O Canada. Everyone, please be seated.
Let us pray. On this Remembrance Day we come, O Lord, in gratitude for all who have died that we might live, for all who endured pain that we might know joy, for all who suffered imprisonment that we might know freedom. Turn our deep feeling now into determination, and our determination into deed, that as men and women died for peace, we might live for peace, for the sake of peace, even Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Sergeant at Arms, carry colors. Everyone, please stand. We're way ahead again. Okay. Last post. Two-minute silence, please. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them. Rouse, please. Sergeant at Arms. Sergeant at Arms, please march off the color party.
Color party, right, sir. Color party, quick, march. Color party, march, guys. Color party, halt.
Okay, everybody, please be seated. Before we proceed with the program, I would ask that any and all veterans of all the wars they have served in to conserve our peace and freedom, and the peacekeepers, reservists, and support personnel, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. 'Tis indeed a great honor to have you here. Please accept our gratitude from the bottom of our collective hearts. Ladies, gentlemen, and children, you know the snow we've got outside, the cold we've got outside, the mud of the melt, the cold of today in winter. I remind you that our soldiers fought tooth and nail in winters 10 times worse. Mud, unmentionable, pouring rain, heat, gases released by the enemy. God bless you all. Now we will have Deputy Mayor Brad Walls.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first say it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here. On behalf of the Mayor and Council, welcome to this year's Remembrance Day ceremony. Today is a very special day. It is a day for remembering all those young Canadians who not so long ago gave up their dreams so that you and I could see ours through. To remember those courageous young men and women who died for peace and freedom. I ask you to remember April of 1917, when close to 20,000 Canadian soldiers were killed or wounded at Vimy Ridge. More than half of them fell during the last 3 days of the battle. Most of them were very, very young. I ask you to remember 1942, when Canadian troops once again braved incredible odds on the shores of Dieppe during the Second World War, 25 years after Vimy Ridge. Those brave young men and women stormed the beach at dawn. Only a few hours later, almost 2,000 had been taken prisoner, and nearly 1,000 lay dead on the shore. They paid a terrible price. But through lessons learned because of their heroic sacrifice, they were instrumental in saving countless lives on D-Day almost 2 years later. I ask you to remember 1950, to 1953, when more than 26,000 Canadian soldiers served in Korea to restore peace and stability. 516 young Canadians made the ultimate sacrifice during the Korean War. Ladies and gentlemen, remember proudly and with heavy hearts those fallen heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice. We must never forget them. I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to think today of those brave young men and women, not only from the distant past, but those who served in the Middle East in the recent past, some who are still gallantly serving there today. Their responsibility, their duty, was to fight and die if need be. As Canadian citizens who have benefited from the courageous efforts and actions of our fallen heroes, it is our responsibility, it's our duty to never, ever forget.
Thank you, Mr. Walls. Can everybody hear us today? Everyone? Yay, we fixed the sound system. All right, Comrade Ron Howard will come forward and deliver the message from the Prime Minister. I can find.
Good morning, everyone, and veterans. Before I deliver the message from the Prime Minister, I'd like to deliver a message from our President of our branch, Mr. Gary Horn. Unfortunately, he cannot be with us today because he has to work. Veterans Week, Remembrance Day message. Generations of Canadians have answered the call to defend the values that define us as a free and democratic nation. I'm deeply honored to salute these noble veterans as we mark Veterans Week and Remembrance Day. This is a year of special anniversaries and commemorations for our veterans, past and present. The 100th anniversary of the start of the Great War is an occasion to honor the memory of Canadians who fought heroically in battles from Passchendaele to Vimy Ridge. We also commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Second World War and the 70th anniversary of D-Day. Canadians made great sacrifices to liberate Europe and free millions from the grip of tyranny. Their valor rightfully earned them recognition as Canada's greatest generation. Canada's armed forces continue to serve with distinction around the globe. This past May, we marked the end of the mission in Afghanistan, a decade-long effort to bring freedom and security and hope to a troubled nation. Throughout our history, Canadians have fought tyranny and evil around the world because it was the right thing to do. Our brave men and women serving in the international missions against the terrorist group ISIL or ISIS are following in this proud tradition. On behalf of the Government of Canada and all Canadians, I thank all of our veterans for upholding our most cherished ideals and making great sacrifices to ensure peace and security at home and around the globe. Lest we forget the Right Honourable Stephen Harper, Prime Minister of Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade. As you all know, we have for many, many years had our very own D-Day and World War II veteran, Comrade George Freeman, read the names of those who made the supreme sacrifice. I deeply regret to have to tell you he no longer is able to do so due to health. We do wish him all the very best. Now he is with us. He's sitting in the front row at the far end. Please. Thank you all very much. Thank you, George. I am therefore honored to ask both comrades Gwen Dewar and Betty McKay, both of whom also were veterans of the Second World War, to come forward to read the names of those who made the supreme sacrifice with the assistance from the 903 Royal Canadian Air Cadet Squadron, cadets who will pin poppies on the cenotaph. The lady coming up is Comrade Gwen Dewar. Over here, sweetie. Do you have your list? Is Betty? Betty has it. We'll share. Okay. And the next lady is Comrade Betty McKay. I'll take this away so it doesn't confuse you. What? I'll lower the mic.
Thank you. That's better. They are going.
No questions.
Anything else? Say anything. Start off, Barbara. Barker, J.S. Barry, Bert.
Oh,
No? You want me to do it? No. Didn't know they would do that. Brown, A. Brown, J.C. Bruce, J. Buckingham, A. Byers, M. Cockrell, J. Cole, C. Foster, R.T. Garden, J. Garwin, F. D. Green Tree, G.D. Harding, where did he go? W.E. Weatherington, D. Jessup, E.G. What's this? Nivet, E.C. Leaf, you've got to do to him. Leaf, R. Martin, W.A. McFarland, J.W. McGarrity, D. McLean, K. McQuine, N. Peridot, E. Pope, CH. Pew, W. Robinson, TE. Rogerson, JS. Smith, R. Smith, SW. Where's the J? J, S, J. Yeah, can't see. Warren, WE. Wilkins, AS. Wright, HA. Watson, WR. Bax, WH. Boisvane, HG. Christensen, CG. Harwood, JE. Tyson, GP. And Watts, MW. We don't have to say this, do we?
I don't think so.
Wires, JW.
Very well done, ladies. Thank you very much. Chuck will help you. We will hear now from Strathmore Fire Chief Muir Furzer.
Good morning, veterans, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. My first comment is I'm going to have to say ditto to everything that Acting Mayor Brad Wall said, because I can't believe it. We're in two parts of the different parts of the town, and we both wrote the same speech. It's just funny. So they say, you know, great minds think alike. This proved the point. My presentation this morning is just going to be a little bit different. And what it is I'm going to present to you figures and numbers, but they're going to be comparisons to what we know around Strathmore and Calgary and area. Today we're gathered here to pay tribute to 1,779,000 men and women of our military forces who volunteered to protect our freedoms and way of life. When you look at this number, 1,779,000 people, this is a number far greater than the population of the city of Calgary, which is 1,300,000, the community of Strathmore, Okotoks, High River, Cochrane, and Airdrie combined. That's a lot of veterans who have served and to protect Canada's rights and freedoms. One of the first and least known campaigns that Canada provided support to was South Africa. Some people call it the Boer War. From 1899 to 1902, 7,000 Canadians saw action at one time or another. Canadian losses amounted to 270 men. In 1914, we were reminded that the Dominion of Canada's involvement in military action to protect our freedoms and rights is now 100 years old. This First World War was also a cornerstone for Canada becoming noted and appreciated as a nation on itself. Canada's contribution record within this Great War was 625,000 men and women who went overseas. 172,000 returned home, wounded. All total, 64,990 members of our military were killed in action. At this time also, Newfoundland was not a member of Canada. And as a dominion within the British Empire, Newfoundland alone sent 12,000 men and women. Their losses were 1,570. We were also reminded today marks the 70th anniversary of the Allied nations, where 14,000 Canadian troops attacked the beaches at Normandy. During this historic day, Canada once again proved they are a force to be reckoned with. Despite their great losses, Canada was able to secure and hold the beach as one major entry point for all the additional Allied forces to land. By day's end, 359 soldiers died. 715 were wounded. As the Second World War pushes forward, Canada's contributions were astounding. Her soldiers liberated cities, towns, and homes. Today, as we reflect upon our contributions in the Second War, let us not forget the sacrifices of our soldiers. Canada's total contribution to this war was 1,081,865 men and women, serving both on the Atlantic and Pacific theaters. 45,000 perished in the support of democracy and freedom. Canada is now recognized as a great nation on its own. We have been called upon to support many smaller operations. One of these was the Korean War. This war lasted 3 years. 26,000 Canadians Soldiers were eventually called to duty. 561 never came back. Canada's record on human rights, democracy, and freedoms we enjoy are the envy of many countries and societies around the globe. Our reputations as peacekeepers are renowned. Canada is always ready to assist a nation to achieve peace, democracy, freedom. Promoting peace worldwide has a price. 121 United Nations soldiers have lost their lives championing for the world peace. As global politics change, so does the threat to human lives. Canada's focus on promoting peace worldwide changes the role from a peacekeeper to a peacemaker. Canada's contribution to peace in Afghanistan is 40,000 Canadian soldiers. Our losses to date, 157. The newest threat to our freedom and the way of life is terrorism, both foreign and domestic. The recent terrorist attacks in Quebec and in Ottawa shock our nation. Threats to our soldiers' lives are no longer in a foreign land, but here in our homeland, where we enjoy the freedom of our country and all its bounties. We cannot forget our veterans, past and present, our service members, who stand on guard to protect our freedom and the way of life, lest we forget.
Thank you, Chief. We will now do the laying of the wreaths. For the veteran, lovely Betty McKay's husband, Frank McKay. Her Majesty the Queen, Corporal Christopher Hrenek. For the Government of Canada, Constable Emmeline Hasty. The Alberta Legislative Assembly, Corporal Christopher Hrenek. The town of Strathmore, Deputy Mayor Brad Walls. The Canadian Armed Forces, Sergeant Jeff Warren. In memory of Corporal Nathan Cirillo and Warrant Officer Patrice Vincent. Comrade Betty Anderson. Strathmore RCMP Detachment, Constable Emmeline Hasty. Alberta Northwest Territory Command Legion, Deputy District Commander Sylvia Westgard. Alberta Northwest Territory Command LA, Ladies Auxiliary, Madam Wanda Coldwell. Strathmore, Royal Canadian Legion, Branch Number 10, Comrade Bruce Westgard. Sorry, Bruce. Got dyslexia. Strathmore Legion, Branch Number 10, Ladies Auxiliary, Madam Colleen Cameron. A very special branch, Canlone, Comrade Bill Irwin. Royal Newfoundland Regiment, Comrade John Hicks. Special wreath this year, the British Armed Forces, Comrade Joe Bratton. Strathmore Fire Department,
Probationary firefighter Agapito Palero.
now you see why I had him say it. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Strathmore Firefighters Association, Strathmore Rural Firefighters, Mark Heilman, Strathmore 903 Air Cadet Squadron, the County of Wheatland, Councillor Brenda Knight, Knights of Columbus, Harry Salm, and Strathmore Elks, Greg Whiteley, Strathmore Lions Club and Cheadle Lions Club, Don Geiger and Dale Cox. Strathmore Masonic Lodge, Gary Lyons, and Strathmore Kinsman Club, Curtis Gillespie. Strathmore Chamber of Commerce and Strathmore Library. Wheatland 4-H District, Strathmore Agricultural Society. Cheadle Community, Lyalta Community Club, Gary Bratley. Okay, that's Cheadle. Thank you. Lyalta. Strathmore Cubs and Scouts, Sebastian and Shaylee. Strathmore Girl Guides, Tiffany and Olivia and Jodeci. Strathmore District Health Services, Lambert Village. Wheatland Lodge. Just put her down, doesn't matter. Thank you. Wheatland Elementary School and Brentwood Elementary School, Tristan and Celista Payne. Good job. Oh dear. Westmount Elementary School, Ray Vorak. Crowther Memorial Junior High School. Strathmore High School, Dylan Callan. Strathmore Youth Club, Shannon Zeman. Holy Cross Collegiate, Raven Moore, and Sacred Heart Academy, Trudy Crosby. Oh. Oh, that's a no-no. Oops. Never ever walk between the flags. Now everyone knows. Tim Hortons and A&W, James Howman. Strathmore Husky, Azaz Wahid, Atco Gas, Fred Meyerink. Calgary Co-op, Lisa Larson. Strathmore Area Church Ministers, Reverend Betty Bradley. That concludes our wreath laying ceremony. Now I call upon guest speaker, Comrade Doug Seaton.
Morning, everyone. This is about the biggest crowd I've seen since I've been in Strathmore. I've been here now for about 24 years. Before I came here, I was in the military for approximately 24 years. And after that, I went and worked for the Calgary Police Department as a civilian. I was there for 18 years. So after the grand total of 44 years or whatever, I decided to call it quits. And I came to Strathmore. This was a nice town. And it's got so big lately, I don't know. Everybody wants to call it a city, but I sort of like it the way it is. Matter of fact, the town's so nice, they even got my whole family here today. My 3 daughters. Thank you, Tony. Anyway, while I was in the military, I served overseas quite a bit. I was in Cyprus in 1965, and before that I went to Germany in 1957 until 1959, came back and was posted to the new base of CFB Gagetown, where I spent about 11 years there on the Centurion tank for that 11 years. And by the way, I was kind of surprised this morning when I come in to notice Irene put my picture down at the bottom of the page. That's me in front of the tank when I was 19 years old. And I was in better shape then. After Cyprus in 1965, I had the opportunity to put in for, see if I can get this right, the international control for the supervision and handling of Vietnam, or the ICCS, which started in 1964, and it consisted of personnel from India, Poland, and Canada. Now, how they ever picked these 3 countries is beyond me, but it worked out. And people that came there with us, after 47 years, I think I can say safely that we had quite a few RCMP there with us. Some of you younger officers probably don't know that, but it's true. I was in a little bar one night in Saigon, and these gentlemen just come out of the jungle after they've been there for about 30 days, Americans I'm talking about, and this bloody huge fight broke out. And here I am sitting there with my buddy who was in the artillery, and we're just out for the evening. And he said, "Doug, we got to get out of here." I said, "Hold it, just take it easy." So all we did was take our I cards out of the ICCS. And I was quite surprised when the American MP sergeant come over. He took one look and said, "Okay, boys, stay here and enjoy yourself." But right there, that guy, he knew exactly who we were and what that ID card was. And after that, we made sure we didn't lose it. So we come back from Vietnam in 1967, and lo and behold, we're getting posted back to Germany. But this time we get to take our families with us, which is kind of nice. And we were there for 4 years. And that was in northern Germany, Nice alone, when it started. And then we moved south to Lahr. And I stayed there until 1971, where we came back home again. But before we come back home, I had a great job of helping change all the tracks on the Centurion tanks and put what we call live tracks on the Centurion tanks. All day I was tracks with pads on them. And we shipped them out somewhere. We don't know to who, but somebody's got them. They're probably shooting back at us now. Anyway, after we got rid of the Centurions, we got the Leopard 1 that came in Lahr in 1971. And what is the difference? In the Centurion, we could do the great speed of 21 miles an hour. But it was a great tank, and it was the first tank with a stabilizer in it. And then we got the Leopard. And what we got here now is a tank going across the plains doing 60 miles an hour. And they're getting faster. And then we got the Mark II Leopard, which they still have. I had a friend of mine, he was in Wainwright, and he said he was in his Leopard tank going full tilt, about 60 clicks an hour. And this American M1 passed him and waved. So I said, boy, I don't know. They're going to need faster helicopters there pretty soon to catch up to them. But the Leopard is a very good tank, and we're lucky to have them. I noticed just about every incident that happened in Afghanistan, the militia or the reserves, whichever, is mixed up in it. And in a lot of ways, all we hear about are the regular forces, and hardly anything about the militia. But over in our branch, we got pictures of all these men that were killed in Afghanistan. And I believe the total was 158. And out of that 158, I can imagine a little over half of them were probably militia. And I think we should all stand and give them a good hand. Thank you. Just to finish off, When I was in Cyprus in 1965, it, another thing I'd like to say is, somebody mentioned here a while ago, the best peacekeepers that ever did the job were the Canadian forces. And I don't care what anybody says. That's the truth, because I worked with them, and I was very proud of it. I was doing patrol one day in my little ferret scout car, and I noticed all these women and kids were all yelling and screaming at each other. And I looked over, and they're all standing around a water tap on the side of the building. So I still didn't know what was going on. So all I did was get off my vehicle. I went over, I turned the water tap on, and everybody thought I was a big hero and tapped me on the shoulders and blah, blah, blah. And then they went over and they got the water and away they went. You know, it's things like this that work, and nobody would ever think about it. I know I didn't. I just went and did it. But it's little things like that that the Canadian soldier can do. And it's so simple, but nobody ever sits back and thinks about it before they do anything. In 1972, when I was in Cyprus, well, the only thing that happened there was pretty big, actually. We had Colonel Jimmy Fox with us. And somehow or another, somebody caught a boat that was coming into the Limassol Harbor, one of them areas. And what they found on that boat, it took us almost 3 weeks to move all this, what it was all these different weapons, machine guns, heavy machine guns, mortars, you name it. It was on that ship. And we had to ship it from there to the Nicosia airport, where we stored it in a big hangar. What happened to it after that, I don't know. But I'll tell you, if somebody had got their hands on that, it would have been a different story in Cyprus. Anyway, it's been a pleasure talking here today. It's about 5 years ago since I did this, and it'll probably be the last one. The old legs are conking out on me slowly here. So thank you very much, and thanks for coming. Thank you.
He's a great storyteller. And now we'll hear prayers from Reverend Brian Beveridge.
Let us pray. Today, O God, we remember times of war, times when men and women served our nation and fought and died so that we and so many others might live in freedom. We are saddened to remember the lives that were lost and the cost that so many paid so that the world might not live in fear of violence and oppression. Today, O God, we remember And we are thankful for the sacrifices that our soldiers and sailors and aircrew made so that their brothers and sisters and generations that have followed them, both here and in other nations, could live in peace. We recall those who have served in places far from here and those who have served here at home. And we thank you for what they did to hold high the torch and to take up the quarrel with the foe. We thank you, O God, and we pray today for those like them who are now serving Canada at home and abroad in our armed forces, that you would keep them safe and bring them home safely to their loved ones. Finally, most gracious God, we pray as well that all people on earth will learn to live together as one family, to share that none will be hungry or homeless, to care that none will be afflicted or oppressed by violence, to love and respect one another despite our differences, so that freedom might be more than a word and life more than a struggle to survive. Finally, O Lord, we ask all this in the name of the Prince of Peace. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. On the backs of your program is Amazing Grace, which we will now sing, along with this lovely voice. Don't want to hear mine. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. Though precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that taught me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've known less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Thank you. All right. After all this time, it's my turn. Please be seated. Sorry. didn't tell you to stand in the first place, but screw that up too. Okay, 100 years ago, Britain declared war on Germany. And because Canada was a part of the British Empire, we were also at war. Canadians were enthusiastic and enlisted so they would not miss out on a wonderful adventure. They thought they would be over there and it would be finished by Christmas. Tragically, they would be fighting for more than 4 years on miserable battlefields that were swept by deadly enemy machine guns, artillery, and poison gas. Our soldiers sacrificed greatly, but their courage and hard-won experience earned them a reputation for being some of the best troops on the Western Front. They achieved victories at Vimy Ridge, Passchendaele, and a series of battles at the end of the war now called Canada's 100 Days. More than 650,000 Canadians and Newfoundlanders served in the First World War, and more than 66,000 lost their lives. World War I became known as the Great War, the war to end all wars, but it wasn't to be. 21 years after World War I began World War II. More famous battles, more supreme sacrifices. We hadn't learned from World War I. One of the most famous invasions made by the Allies was D-Day on June 6, 1944. Canada's attack was on Juno Beach, Normandy, France. More than 14,000 Canadian soldiers went ashore that day. Some 340 of them did not make it very far. The troops were supported by a massive naval fleet and thousands of warplanes. The joint efforts of Canada, the United States, and Britain finally cracked the walls of Fortress Europe, and the end of the war was in sight. Our Legion has been blessed with several survivors of that day, and we still have Comrade George Freeman with us today. His son Larry recently gave us a copy of a letter his father received while he was on the barge headed for Juno Beach. Comrade Freeman kept this letter in his pocket the whole time he was there and read it periodically with much emotion. It was a letter written by Dwight D. Eisenhower, addressed to all the troops involved in D-Day. They received it when they were in the barges ahead, headed for the first wave of the invasion. It was from Supreme Headquarters, Allied Expeditionary Force. Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Forces, you are about to embark upon the great crusade, toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940-1941. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle, man to man. Our air offense has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking. Signed by Dwight D. Eisenhower. Since World War II, another war we didn't learn from, many conflicts arose around the world, all at different times and for different reasons. But the world has really never been at peace, and 2014 is no exception. I started off with World War I 100 years ago, and in a poem I will address the worries of today. It's entitled, The Tyrants. The tyrants are on the loose again. They hate all but their own. They give their lives to kill us, to scatter our blood and home. They care not whom they murder, whether woman, man, or child. Their minds are full of fury. Their sickness has gone wild. To rule the world with violence is their one and only goal. Terror is their method. They want complete control. We've seen it all before, and we could not let it be. We gave our lives for freedom, for the world, for you and me. We fight all forms of oppression, helping victims far and near, to keep the world from chaos, to protect what we hold dear. America's the only country that gives with its whole heart and asks so very little. We always do our part. So let's unite again to subdue our newest foe. Whatever we must do, wherever we must go. Let's show the world once more that America is blessed with people who are heroes, who meet each and every test. Thank you. Okay. Now I have announcements somewhere. If before you leave, you wish to place your poppies on the cenotaph down here up front, you are most welcome to do so after the ceremony. Everyone here is cordially invited to join us at the Field of Honor, the Strathmore Cemetery, after the ceremony. Remember, our veterans fought in weather like this. Please join us at the Legion following the service for comradeship, war music, and stories some of us cannot forget. Every year, teachers and students of all grades in schools everywhere participate in a Legion-sponsored contest where they enter pictures, poems, and essays, all pertaining to veterans and the wars they fought in. Thanks to everyone for their participation. You could see some of the local entries at the Strathmore Legion. Sergeant at Arms. Prepare to march off the colors.
Right, sir. Color party. Quick, march. Color party. March. Guard. Color party. Halt. Color party. Left. Turn. Color party. Retreat. Color.
God grant to the living grace, to the departed rest, to our country and to all humankind peace and concord, and to us and to all God's servants life without fear. And the blessing of God Almighty, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, be with us and remain with us now and always. Amen.
Sergeant at Arms, retrieve the colors. Did that already. Good job. Everyone, please stand, if you are able, for the singing of God Save the Queen.
God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen, God save our Queen. Send her victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us, God save our Queen.
See if I can do this right. Sergeant at Arms, march off the colors.
Dollar party, outward, turn! Dollar party, quick, march!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please join me in thanking our guest speakers, our cadets for their terrific assistance, Anna Tucker and her beautiful voice, Lynn Fair and her piano expertise, the haunting pipes of Ken Oliphant, and the military tones of Sarah Goodfellow. This concludes our 2014 Remembrance Day ceremony. The members of the Strathmore Royal Canadian Legion Branch Number 10 would like to thank everyone for joining us on our most important day of the year. And we wish you all a safe journey home. Please remember to thank a veteran. We will always remember them. Thank you. I guess